Howdy once again, it's tubalcain, also known as Mr. Pete 222, and this is Machine Shop Tips number 304 entitled Rust Removal Using Vinegar. Well, in some of my past videos I discussed electrolysis and rust removal by that method, and take a look at tips number 301, fairly recent video on electrolysis rust removal. But I am constantly criticized by people saying, why are you using that complicated method? Just use white vinegar to remove rust. So that will be the subject of this video today, so let's get started. You may have watched one of my videos several years ago entitled Tubalcain Buys an Atlas Lathe at an Estate Auction, and that was a two-part video. You can go back and look at that if you want, but at that auction I bought this Atlas work table. It was mounted on the Atlas lathe, but actually it's meant really to be used on a drill press, and there's little vice jaws here that are adjustable, and then a two-axis table here to position the work. Well, this thing was kind of rusty, still is for that matter. I never have gotten around to restoring it, but this cast iron table is a bit rusty, and it's rusty from being stored in an unheated shop, unheated garage. So we got rust on both sides. I've removed that off of the base here, and this is the item that I plan on cleaning up. The rest of it at a later time. I fully realized that in 15 minutes I could have this fully cleaned up with a little emery cloth and probably not a whole lot of work. But let's let chemicals do the work. So I'm just going to soak this in vinegar, and this will take several days, I believe. So the video will be taped over several days. Now I took a baking pan here, since my wife doesn't make brownies anymore for me. And you know what? I just don't care for brownies at all unless they got pecans in them. Other than that, I would just as soon feed them to the birds. Gotta have pecans. Not walnuts, but pecans. So here's one of her baking tins that I have absconded with some time ago. It's a bit rusty as well, so perhaps I will be killing two birds with one stone. It pays to buy the best. Now I'm using some blocks of steel here to block the table up off of the bottom of the pan, so that this isn't sitting on the bottom of the pan, because I want to remove the rust there as well. And this is painted. I did blow this off and clean it up a little bit, but it was very, very dirty from years of neglect. And the purpose of, well, I'm going to lay it right in there and cover it with vinegar. I've got a piece of threaded rod with a nut on the bottom and top, just loose, but just allows me to have a handle so I don't have to get my fingers in the vinegar all the time. And what a nice fit that is. It's a 7-inch table. Must be about an 8-inch pan. That doesn't happen very often. The only thing is my blocks have raised it up so high that the vinegar is going to run over. So I think I'll try to find some blocks that are just a little bit lower. These are 1 inch. I didn't want to use aluminum or some other material because maybe there's a reaction, I do not know. I didn't want to use wood, which I got plenty of, because it would float away on me each time I lifted the work off it. So let me dig around here and see if I can find something just a little. I'd like to use plastic actually, but I don't have any of that thickness. I just wasted 15 minutes of my life, and I don't have that much left. Anyway, I cut some plastic to the right height, thickness, 7/8, and you know what, it floats, so that was worthless. I did a test in water. I got to learn something about specific gravity, I guess. So then I came up with a brilliant idea of washers, which and I got 1 million of them, so there we go. I'm ready to add the vinegar. Now let's take a look at this vinegar, which is less than $3 for a gallon. Kroger brand, as if the brand matters. And it's already been reduced with water to 5% acidity. Actually, they probably reduced it with water to cheat us. That is, they watered the stock. You remember that back in grade school when they talked about that? And there's a picture. A white man with a white child in a field of lilies. Quite romantic. And a salad. Here we go with the vinegar. Yeah, smells kind of good, like the kitchen. Just enough to cover it. Naturally, this table is not level. Well, that comes almost to the brim. And you know, it only used this much, perhaps a little more than a quart. I should have bought a quart, which cost almost the same as a gallon, by the way. All right, now this has to sit. I don't know how long. Some people say 2 hours. I don't believe it. I'm going to cover it as such to prevent odor. Now, as I told you, this is May 2016, and today's the 11th. I call it V-Day for not victory, but vinegar. So I'll look at it again tomorrow, and we'll evaluate it day by day for as many days as we need, and maybe it'll be done on the 12th. But remember, if I had used emery cloth over at my workbench, I'd already be done. But it would have taken a little elbow grease. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. All right, here I am, but it's actually 2 days later. Today is the 13th. I was gone all day on the 12th, so it's been sitting for 2 days. The cover here got all kind of wet and wilty, but let's take it off and see what we got. Wow, what a mess. And look, it appears that the pan has leaked. So I'm going to have to solder that up with some good acid core solder. Get it back in the cupboard upstairs before my wife makes the next batch of brownies. And I guess instruct her not to bake them at higher than 400 degrees, because I think that solder melts at just a little over 400, so she'll need to bake the brownies at 350. But what a mess we've got here. Look at this. That's the rust. So I'm going to pull it out of there. I'm going to take this over to the sink, actually, and pull it out of there, because it's going to be a mess, and rinse it off, and we'll see what it looks like. Here we go. I got it in the sink. Let me get this pan out of here so it's out of the way. Is it illegal to put vinegar down the sewer? A lot of rust, isn't there? But not too much particle matter. Well, I guess there is. Okay, set that aside until I use the lead solder on it. It doesn't look that good. Let me use hot water here and my fingernail brush. Oh, that's coming off. Let me scrub just a little more. I got some spots right here, but I wonder if that had been sticking out of the vinegar a little bit. Right there, where it was rusty. Do just a little bit more to it. Then I'm going to neutralize it. I don't know if that's necessary, but I'm going to neutralize it with some baking soda, and then I will take a Scotch-Brite to that surface and see what it looks like. This is lukewarm water with baking soda in it to neutralize the very mild acid. You know, they try to pretend they're Arm & Hammer with their color, don't they? From a distance, it would fool somebody. Okay, here's the work, and a Scotch-Brite. And I don't want to use too much elbow grease, because if I'm using an awful lot of elbow grease, I might as well have just used emery cloth to start with. But you know what it looked like to start with when I unveiled it, an awful lot like the electrolyte business, didn't it? Just as messy. What those funny stains are. And I don't know if it shows up in the video or not, but it's a very light gray. Remember, this is cast iron. I don't like that. One wonders if he'll have to put it back in the vinegar overnight. Alright, I'm going to do a little more touch-up off camera. You know what, I gotta admit, I'm really impressed. It's still warm because I used hot water and then I blew it off so it would dry fast, and I do believe that I need to oil it right away. Now, I don't know if that's rust or dirt in there, but this is a painted surface. Perhaps I should put it in again overnight, but if I do, that'll be off camera. Look at how nice and clean that zero witness mark is. I did use a little wire brush, looks like a toothbrush, only it's brass bristles in the slots both ways. I used no abrasives on this other than that Scotch-Brite that you saw, the green Scotch-Brite. It looks almost like a sandblasted surface. So I do not think I'm going to use emery cloth or anything on it, but I'm going to oil it right away here so we don't get any flash rust. But I'm loving this, I gotta admit, and I'm bye-bye electrolysis. You know what, I probably saved 20 cents worth of electricity as well. Need more oil than that. I'll work that down in there a little better. And I'm going to oil this also. Heck with that Bounty paper towel. Three-in-one used to come in a little spray can. Do you remember that? But I don't think that's on the market anymore. These are the little hardened pins that Atlas uses on the lathes and the milling attachment and so on that go in these holes and fit into that round dovetail, and then of course There are cap screws there, and I had those in the vinegar too, and they look pretty good. Alright, let me have a few more minutes on this. I'm going to oil all of this and be right back. Alright, I'm very satisfied with this. For 50 cents worth of vinegar and very little elbow grease, I've got a finished table. However, I have a lot of work to do on the rest of the device, and I don't know if I'll film that or not, but doesn't that look nice? And I did clean these up on the lathe, and so we'll put that project to rest. I hope you liked this, and it would be interesting for me or someone in the future to do a comparison of similar pieces, rusty pieces, one in the electrolyte and the other with vinegar. And then people have talked about that molasses method as well, which I've never used, and I may experiment with that. Hope you liked the video, but one more thing I want to show you. Don't go away. I had the hunger for a meatloaf tonight, and my wife started to make one. She bought the hamburger and everything, and she said, I can't find the casserole Pyrex. Have you seen it? And of course I said, no, what would I be doing with your Pyrex? So if I'm going to have that meatloaf tonight, I got to get this back into the kitchen here. I'll sneak it into one of the cupboards on her. But a week or so ago, I put a couple other items into vinegar. One was one of these railroad gauges that somebody gave me, and these were shown in my What Is It video. Not this particular one, because this one was fairly rusty. And I'm going to, it's been in vinegar, I'm going to clean this up just a little bit here in a minute, off camera. And I'll put a still of this before I put it in the vinegar. And then I had a couple chisels. Oh, that doesn't look good, does it? Well, oh, that's all going to come off, see? Dasco chisels. And before I put this one in, it looked pretty much like this one. Not bad, but rusty. Not good. So let me clean these up in the sink real quickly. See how all that rust came off? And we'll see how those look. I'll be right back. This is what that Pratt & Whitney gauge looked like a week or so ago. And this is it now. I take it back, this isn't a Pratt & Whitney, but it is a railroad gauge for wheels or axles or something. Couplers. So that turned out nice. And similarly, look at how nice that chisel, even though this is a piece of scrap iron. Looks pretty good, doesn't it? It's a Dasco. Well, I hope you liked this video, and I hope that my meatloaf doesn't taste like vinegar. And I'm most satisfied with this. Give me a comment if you like it. If you don't like it, don't say anything. And there's been too much swearing in the videos lately, so I have to take those comments and I immediately delete them. So please don't talk dirty. And this is Tubalcain saying so long for now, and be sure and watch my 700 other videos.